666.
Richard, Saudi Energy Ministry completes legal framework for the rollout of EV charging stations. Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Energy, in coordination with other related government agencies and in integration with the private sector, has launched the regulations for the rollout of electric vehicle charging stations so as to ensure quality, efficiency, and the protection of users and facilities across the kingdom, according to a report in Saudi Gazette.
I guess according to studies, EV sales in the country are expected to expand to 1.3 million electric vehicles between now and 2030. Like a lot of places, the charging infrastructure is not in place. And this includes the U.S. And the U.S. has, 400,000 EVs were sold in 2021, but we only have 6,000 DC fast electric charging stations in the U.S. And obviously, there are 48,000 charging stations of all kinds, but in terms of fast charging.
Right.
I thought this was interesting in the sense that, they're trying to look ahead. Also, I think it's interesting. We've done a couple comments recently on the Research Development and Innovation Authority, which is trying to organize and coordinate different entities as they delve into research or innovation, any kind of projects or initiatives, try not to have things conflict or overlap or duplicate. When we were talking with Dr. Saad Al-Shahrani, Deputy Minister of Investment, the Ministry of Investment is going to introduce a new program that will do the same thing with investment promotion. So, your people know what other ministries are doing, and they're not duplicating efforts. This EV team was interesting because it had Ministry of Municipal and Rural Affairs, Ministry of Transport and Logistics, Ministry of Commerce, Water and Electricity, Saudi Standards, Saudi Energy and Efficiency Center, Saudi Electric Company, King Abdullah Petroleum Studies. Trying to bring together everybody who might be involved with this to get it right and do the rollout. Now, did you do any research? I looked to try and see how many EV stations currently exist in Saudi Arabia.
I didn't. What's the status?
I couldn't find any reliable numbers. I mean, they ranged all the way from 18 to larger numbers. I guess Electromin, which is the sister to Petromin, has engaged with ABB E-Mobility, which is a Swiss firm, to put in 100 EV chargers at Electromin stations all around the country. But anyway, it's very early in the process, and again, like the U.S. and many other countries, it's well behind what is expected to be the growth curve for actual electric vehicles on the road.
Yeah, I would assume that a lot of the EVs that are in Saudi Arabia now, and I assume that number is fairly modest, but I assume that a lot of those are charged at home because it's still very novel. Richard, I saw this yesterday, but California in the United States here is about to require 35% of automakers' new sales to be zero emission vehicles in 2026. That's a lot. Especially with the charging infrastructure not in place. What's interesting too is there's the issue of having enough charging stations, and then there's the issue of how those charging stations are powered. Because if coal is powering whatever oil are powering these charging stations, it's not terribly green or zero emissions. So it's a huge change, and you can see that in all of these new, I should say, existing automakers that are now changing and embracing electric vehicles, but it's taking them half a decade or longer to produce their first electric car because there's just a lot that changes. There's a lot of legacy stuff that you got to get rid of. So
agreed, and you got to make the commitment, and California has. I mean, one of the interesting things about the EV charging outlets, so they're close to about 115,000 in the U.S. 41,000 plus of those are in California.
That's good.
So California is leading the way, and they'll start seeing real results if with those mandates, 30% by 2026, and it looks like they're well on their way in having an EV charging infrastructure in. You're going to start seeing real changes in terms of climate and reducing emissions, that sort of thing.